It's a Tuesday in Texas. That means Dodgers, Rays, and a World Series title on the line. Plus, happy days in Pittsburgh, trouble in the East, and to a time in South Beach. All this and more coming up on Tailgaters. It's once again that time, perhaps the pinnacle of the autumn season, the Fall Classic. The World Series is here, and here to talk about it is me and Shane Palma. Let's hop right into it. First and foremost, we're going to take a look at a preview thanks to our very own Grant Green of 23 Sports.
It's the champions of the AL League, Tampa Bay Rays, taking on the champions of the NL League, Los Angeles Dodgers in the 2020 World Series. The Dodgers come off a big 7-game series win against the Atlanta Braves, one that they came back in a 3-1 deficit, just one of many blown leads in the state of Georgia. The Dodgers capitalized on their great hitting and pitching on both sides throughout the regular season and postseason. As you can see here, Cody Bellinger with a 400-foot home run to give the Dodgers the game-winning run. And that was enough to send them to the World Series for the third time in the last 4 years. Meanwhile, in the other league, it was the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Houston Astros for the AL Championship. The Tampa Bay Rays actually led 3-0 in this series at one point before giving away 3 straight games. The Tampa Bay Rays were able to pick it up in Game 7 as they were able to use their great pitching to give themselves a 4-2 lead. This pitching has been something they have relied on all throughout the regular season and postseason. The only question is the batting against this great Dodgers team. This is the Rays' just second World Series appearance in franchise history. The last came back in 2008 when they lost to the Philadelphia Phillies in just 5 games. It'll be Tyler Glasnow taking on Clayton Kershaw for Game 1 of the World Series.
Now, it may not be the two teams that you or I expected exactly, Shane. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we got the two best teams from the ALCS and the NLCS, the AL and the NL conferences. What are we looking forward to here? Dodgers, Rays, World Series.
All right, so you weren't here last week when I had my sad little monologue about the New York Yankees and their pitching woes and not being able to get the job done. The A's have steamrolled the competition throughout this entire playoffs. It's almost shocking how great this team has really become. The Astros were no match for them, even though they took it to a Game 7. I mean, the Rays really had that one in the bag from the start.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, on the other hand, I think a lot of people expected them to be here. They really were the powerhouse coming out of the National League. I said the Padres. That was just me being hopeful that their pitching staff would have stayed healthy. Instead, it's the Dodgers pitching staff that stayed healthy. Clayton Kershaw, I mean, while he did have a choke-like game earlier this series against the Braves, they still did close this one out. He is the starter for Game 1 in the World Series. Listen, it's going to be a really interesting one between these two teams.
Yeah. Clearly, it is the Dodgers series to lose with their history, how close they've come, their just kind of history of falling real short. It's definitely their series to lose. What do they have to do to not face that same disappointment? And on the flip side, what do the Rays have to do to get the upset? Perhaps, maybe, shock the world.
I think with the Dodgers, it comes down to out-pitching the Rays. I think when you look at both of these teams, it's whose pitching staff can out-pitch the other ones. You look at the Dodgers, they obviously, like I said, have Kershaw. Walker Buehler, their supposed ace, but Kershaw's kind of taken that back. Kind of said, "Give me that."
Yeah.
With the ace title, he's right back in it for them as their number one.
Yeah.
Julio Urias, Dustin May, they have a lot of the younger guys that they can go to. Then again, not as much experience when it comes to the playoffs with these guys and the World Series. Although the Dodgers have been there enough where they can train these guys to pitch well in these high-pressure situations. And for the Rays, like I said, it comes down to the pitching. Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, Ryan Yarbrough, and Tyler Glasnow. All these guys have been, I would almost say, elite, except Snell, who I think is the X factor of this World Series. If Snell can pitch deep into games, I think, honestly, the Rays can win this one. Not handedly, but definitely in a contest that would maybe only go 6 games. Maybe a series that would only go 6 games. Fun fact, Blake Snell hasn't pitched more than 6 innings since back in 2019.
No way.
The summer of 2019. He has always struggled with consistency on his fastball, on his slider.
Yeah.
led to a lot of walks, led to a lot of home runs that he's given up, especially to some of these American League teams. Now he goes against the National League, which he hasn't seen a lot of. If Blake Snell can be on his game and be the Cy Young winner that we saw a few years ago, I think the Rays take this one.
Yeah, so for game one, we have Clayton Kershaw on the mound. Remind me, who's taking the mound for the Rays?
Tyler Glasnow, who I think is their best pitcher that they have. And
I would agree.
Dominated that trade against the Pirates when they shipped off Chris Archer for Glasnow and Meadows. I mean, that might go down as one of the most lopsided trades in MLB history.
If Glasnow wins it all, I think, yeah, absolutely.
No, I mean, even right now, Chris Archer has yet to put together more than 10 games in a season for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's set to become a free agent this year. They're going to let him walk. There's no way they're going to pay him what he wants.
Yeah.
His ERA has always been inflated above 4.5. This guy was never the ace that they traded him to be.
Wow. Well, the Rays definitely got the advantage there. We'll see if they have the advantage in this series. I think the Dodgers definitely have the up on the hitting side of things. But there is, how do you pronounce his name?
Randy Arozarena.
He's been ridiculous.
This guy is insane. The fact that he can play all of next season and still be in contention for Rookie of the Year, like that just blows my mind. Like, where did this guy come from? I know he came from the Cardinals, and what would be the Jose Martinez trade now goes down as the Randy Arozarena trade. Absolutely insane.
Wow. So he has how many home runs in the playoffs? 4, 5?
I honestly, the amount of RBIs that he has definitely can't fit on all my fingers. But he has more total bases in the playoffs than Mike Trout. I'll give that one to you.
Well, that's a little bit unfair, but it is funny to think about. So let's get into just what are we going to see in this series when it comes down to it. Who's going to take home the Commissioner's Trophy? Who's going to take home the MVP trophy at the end of this series? I personally have Dodgers in 7 games. I think Dodgers just have the extra strength that they need to go the whole way, but never want to count out the Rays. They've proven again and again. I completely forgot they're even a 1 seed this year going into the playoffs. They're just underdogs through and through, and you can't count them out in this series at all. But I think the Dodgers just have those big names that are going to show up. They should show up. They have had trouble showing up in the past. Clayton Kershaw, I'm looking at you, but I think the Dodgers are going to take this one in 7 games. Shane, what do you have?
Well, listen, every single year since he's been their manager, Dave Roberts has said, this is our year.
Yeah.
This is our year to win it. Hasn't happened yet. He said it again after they beat the Braves in Game 7. I think it still remains to be seen. I'll give you another fun fact since I'm full of fun facts today.
Absolutely.
If Tampa Bay wins, not only will the city of Tampa have a title for baseball, they also had the Lightning win.
The hockey,
For the same goes for Los Angeles. Obviously, we saw the Lakers win the NBA championship, and now if the Dodgers win, pretty good time to be in one of those cities right now if you're a sports fan.
No complaints at all.
Well, listen, for me, I'm actually going to give it to the Rays, and that's just because a team this hot, we said it earlier with the Marlins in one of our earlier shows.
Yeah.
A team that has nothing to lose sometimes is the most dangerous. Now, of course, Marlins end up getting swept by the Braves in that series, but the Rays are a far superior team than the Marlins are. I think if their pitching can keep guys like Bellinger, Betts, and Seager at bay, then the Rays can win this one in 6. And I have Randy Arozarena taking the MVP of this one.
Really?
Not only is he going to win the ALCS MVP, I think he's going to win this one too.
And Rookie of the Year next year?
And Rookie of the Year next year. Maybe even MVP next year. Who knows? But listen, if the Dodgers are going to win this one, I think at that point it would go to a Game 7.
Yeah.
It would be highly contested, and I think Corey Seager, who I honestly think is one of the most underrated players in the MLB, time and time again, people always count him out. He proves to be one of the better hitters, if not the best hitter on the Dodgers this year. When you break down the numbers, I think he would win MVP if the Dodgers take this one.
Yeah, I think if the Dodgers win this one, it's gonna go to Clayton Kershaw because this series is gonna be dependent on how he plays. He starts in Game 1. Because he starts in Game 1, he's gonna get another opportunity if it goes to a long series to pitch. It's gonna be how he shows up. I think he's going to step up to the plate, and as a result, it's gonna be like DiCaprio finally getting an Oscar. It's gonna be him getting his MVP.
I love that.
It took forever, but I think he's finally gonna get the job done this year. It's this year. I hate to say it's this year or never. It's definitely not, but it just feels like it's gotta be now. No.
Honestly, if the Dodgers can't win it this year, I would never count them out because you look at their roster, it's so young, it's so deep, and they have so much talent and so much money to continue to spend that I would never count them out of making the World Series again. But it just feels like This has to be their moment.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not their moment, then what's holding them back? What's the reason that they're not winning? They have the pitching. They obviously have the hitting. I don't even think their bullpen's that bad. I think it's one of the in the better half of the league. I don't know what the Dodgers could possibly do to advance themselves any further. You can't go further than the World Series. They've made it so many times in consecutive seasons. I really, besides last year with the Nationals one, I don't know what they could possibly do to make this roster any better than it is right now.
Yeah, it would take a deep dive, a look into their culture, a look into what's the problem, why can't they get it done, and I think it's gonna take a lot of thinking and reflection if it doesn't happen this year. But hopefully that doesn't have to come. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know why I say hopefully, but I just want to see the Dodgers. I'm not a Dodgers fan. I just want to see, man, these guys they can't find a way to succeed. And I hope one day they can just break through. And I think it's finally going to be this year. Well, moving on from MLB, we'll go to the NFL. It's been a little bit of time since we have a proper chat, just a good discussion about the NFL.
I love those.
A proper chat. Yeah. we'll talk about that real soon, but oh, shoot, we don't have a package.
That's true. We do not have a package.
We will talk about the Week 6 going into it right now. So, this week was probably the most unpredictable we've had in a while. Two teams that had no previous losses or had no previous wins got their first wins. Maybe not super unpredictable. The Giants did beat a pretty poor Redskins team.
Oh. Washington football team.
I'm so sorry. Shoot. Washington football team. And then who was the other team that picked up the first
The Falcons.
win? Not the Jets, but the Falcons. The
beat
Falcons
the Vikings.
finally beat the Minnesota Vikings 40-23.
Can we talk about the Jets, please? Let's have my moment.
Go for the Jets. We were talking about this right before the show.
I'm going to bring it up.
Crazy idea.
I'm going to bring it up again in front of the audience that we finally have. Jets are 0-6. You look at their schedule, I can't see them winning another game. Maybe they scratch out a win against the Browns. Maybe they take one in a tilt against the Raiders. Otherwise, there is not a single chance the Jets can win a game this year. Adam Gase, they've already said Joe Douglas has no power, that's their GM, has no power to fire Gase. It's all in Woody Johnson and Chris Johnson's hands. Those are the owners. You look at Adam Gase, they've said his job is safe for the season. Mind-blowing enough that they would keep him around, but he's here to stay for now.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, he's been hurt, shoulder sprain. He hasn't stayed healthy in a consecutive season yet. Since they drafted him, it's been mono. Obviously you can't control that one, but he's had a multitude of other injuries that have kept him off the field one way or another. I personally believe if the Jets go 0-16, you can't pass up on the generational talent that is Trevor Lawrence.
Nope.
If he's there, which he would be, obviously, unless he opts out of the draft. That's why I said if he would be, because I've seen that happen before in the past with players, Eli Manning in particular, not wanting to go to the Chargers. But if the Jets end up with that number 1 overall pick and they take Trevor Lawrence, not only could you probably net a late first for Sam Darnold, maybe to the Saints or to the Steelers, what if Dabo Swinney joined Trevor Lawrence in New York, formed that tandem, kept that connection? He continues to have that great rapport with Lawrence in green. Yeah. I can see it happen. I see it with my eyes. Maybe it's with my Jet fan eyes, but I'd love for that to happen. Personally, even just as a football fan, the Jets are the worst team in the league. It's pretty obvious. They started trading away pieces already this past week. Yeah. If they're going to get anyone in this draft, it has to be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence seems likely. He doesn't seem like the guy who would opt out. He's not that arrogant of a player just because he doesn't like the Jets. I think he's definitely going to declare. You lose me when Dabo Swinney crosses over from one of the
I'm just trying to have a bit of fun here with the predictions.
It's a fun idea. It's a fun idea, but just crossing over from one of the best teams in college football to one of the worst teams.
But can you imagine if those two connected and built this franchise from the bottom up and won a Super Bowl? Like, don't you think Dabo Swinney wants a taste at the Super Bowl at this point? He's going to win another, if they have a national championship this year, they would obviously win it again. I think it's time for him to take that next step and help the Jets evolve.
I think your fan bias is showing a little bit too much.
Sorry, I'll tuck it away. I'll tuck it away.
I love the boldness we have here. Well, talking about some of the worst teams in football, let's talk about the worst division in football by far. Probably the thing I'm most interested in watching right now is the NFC East.
NFC least.
The NFC
JJ.
least. Oh my gosh.
Excuse
Shane,
yourself.
Take it away.
Giants, Eagles, Washington football team, and the Dallas Cowboys. I honestly don't know how a division can get this bad.
Yeah.
Like, how is it possible that 4 teams all in the same division all have losing records right now? Okay, the Cowboys are probably the best team in the division when fully healthy, obviously. Dak Prescott, a fully healthy defense. Their offensive line, they're starting 2 rookies against the Arizona Cardinals last night. That wasn't in the plans for them at all. Washington football team, they weren't supposed to contend, but now they've had 3 different quarterbacks play for them this year. Why not just see what happens with Dwayne Haskins? You didn't give him a fair chance to start a full season. If you're in a semi-rebuild mode, I don't think Kyle Allen is the answer to your problems. I think you should evaluate Dwayne Haskins this year, see what you got out of him through a full season, and then decide, okay, maybe he's not the answer that we need. We can move on, find someone else in the draft, maybe Justin Fields at that point if they can't get a Trevor Lawrence at number 1. For the Eagles, I mean, talk about injuries. The Cowboys have a lot of injuries. The Eagles have even more. They've lost probably their whole offensive line, most of their wide receivers, most of their tight ends. Carson Wentz has played like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And then who am I? Oh, the New York Giants. The better New York team somehow by 1 win, but Daniel Jones I don't think is the answer either. He hasn't shown much as a passer this year. They had a tough schedule to start the season. It's gotten a bit easier. They have the Eagles on Thursday night. They just beat the Washington football team. I can see them scratching out 5 wins this season. Honestly, that could be enough to win the division.
What do you think? I think it's going to be whatever team gets to 7 first wins the division.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
100%, yeah. And I think it's going to be the Cowboys. Obviously my Cowboy prediction of them only having 2 losses is very incorrect, but also who could have saw the Dak Prescott injury coming? I think they would have been in a much better spot if Dak stayed healthy. But I think the Cowboys 7-9 could win this division.
Yeah, I think it's similar to, what was it, 2010, 2011 when the Seahawks won the NFC West with a 7-9 record. That's going to be the NFC East this year. I mean, the best team in the division last year was 8-8. We're not seeing any improvement. It can only be 7-9 is the benchmark now for the NFC East.
Which team has the best future? Which team has, in your opinion?
I think as far as most competent front office, the Eagles definitely have the most competent. You're looking at a Washington Redskins or Washington
twice.
football
I'm going to
team.
start a counter of how many times you say
Washington football team that has benched their quote franchise quarterback, the first round pick that they had so early in the season. The Giants can't find a head coach. Their front office just is in shambles. The Cowboys, I don't know. Jerry Jones just never seems to put it together.
Apparently the coaching staff has failed the players miserably, as we've heard reports earlier today that the coaches are lazy with their play calling and they aren't getting under their players enough to get them going. But I didn't know that it was Mike McCarthy's fault that Michael Gallup dropped a touchdown in the end zone.
I don't know. The Mike McCarthy hire still is a bit questionable.
I want him to go to the Jets as a Jets fan, but he can stay on the Cowboys. It's fine. Although Adam Gase isn't much better.
Gase isn't much better. I think just the Eagles are obviously won the Super Bowl not too long ago.
Yeah, so
they still have their head coach. They still have their head coach and not a ton of their players. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the future, if Carson Wentz is the future. We'll see what happens there. But I think the Eagles definitely have the best chance to be the next 10-win team in that division.
Before we move on from this topic, I want to ask you one more thing about the Eagles. Do you see a scenario this season where the Eagles, maybe they're 3rd in the division, 3 games left in the season, they start Jalen Hurts the last 3 games of the season just to see what they have in him?
Absolutely. I absolutely think they do. If they're in no position to win the division, I think they definitely will. You'll definitely see Jalen Hurts, especially the way Carson Wentz has been playing. They took him in the 2nd round for a reason. They like the kid. I think they're going to want to see what he can do for their team, especially the way Carson Wentz has been playing. If he can give them some sort of life, even at the end of the season, get that offense moving a little bit more than Carson Wentz has, you'll definitely see him in there for a couple games at the end of the year.
Let's talk about some winning teams now as the last part of our NFL segment here. Steelers, Titans, Seahawks, the only undefeated teams left. Which team is the best out of those 3? Which team deserves to be undefeated right now?
Steelers, Titans, Seahawks. I think I like the Seahawks a lot. Honestly, I did not even realize the Steelers were undefeated.
Yeah.
I completely forgot they had not lost a game this year until this Sunday.
Their defense is still elite, and their
it always
offense
is.
I mean, business is booming, and they don't have Bell or Brown. Claypool,
really
Deontay Johnson's been hurt, and Juju hasn't done much. Chase Claypool
He's a star.
has really emerged as a legitimate wide receiver in this league.
I love to see it because I'm a big Notre Dame fan.
Mapletron.
Mapletron,
Yes.
the kid from Canada. 4 touchdowns last week. Plenty of fantasy points this week. He's stepped up as a legitimate number 2 option. Juju Smith he's been a little bit shaky this year, no?
Yeah, but he still loves doing the TikTok dances to end the game, so he's having his fun over there.
Yeah, he can have his fun. Meanwhile, Chase Claypool is a emerging wide receiver 1.
Steelers somehow always get the wide receivers right.
They do.
They always get the later round wide receivers right.
Truly, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Antonio Brown from Central Michigan. Like,
Even Martavis Bryant, when they drafted him, like he was good for them for a little bit.
Yeah,
they always seem to get it right.
Santonio Holmes, I don't even know where he's from. Great receiver. They do have a very underrated receiving core through and through.
Yes.
Also, Seahawks, I would say, they deserve to be undefeated.
Even with their defense giving up some of the worst yardage to
their
opposing
defense has been pretty atrocious. I just think the Russell Wilson MVP train is rolling once again. Tyler Lockett is stepping up to the plate as wide receiver 1. Chris Carson is a great running back.
And DK Metcalf.
Is
honestly one of the best wide receivers in the league right now.
Yep. I think the Seahawks are the best team of the undefeated right now.
But you didn't even mention the Titans. If you look at Ryan Tannehill's numbers, you could say, all right, Russell Wilson had a little bit of a down game in a win against the Miami Dolphins. Ben Roethlisberger, he didn't do too much this week against the Cleveland Browns because they didn't need to. But anyone in the MVP conversation, Mahomes lost the game, Lamar Jackson has lost the game. Ryan Tannehill has not really made any mistakes that has cost his team a win, obviously, because they're undefeated. But he's always kept his team in the game. He still has a fantastic passer rating, which was very underrated last year because he had one of the best quarterback seasons by the numbers last season.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry is still the king, the unit.
Absolutely.
This man is a machine when it comes to just getting the ball in his hands and running straight. The stiff arm to Josh Norman a few weeks ago was just, it replays in my head because it's just
a criminal offense.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and their defense is pretty great too. Jadeveon Clowney was a very underrated last minute signing by them that's proven pretty good for them. And I think the Titans, honestly, I would say that they're the best undefeated team right now.
I would say out of the 3, none of them don't deserve to be undefeated.
Yeah, that's true.
There is just better teams here and there.
The Titans play the Steelers this week. I think that's must-watch TV.
Yeah, I think 100%. So too. Well, I think we're rolling pretty far over time here. Just love discussing the NFL a little bit too much. Well, for for Shane Palma, I'm JJ Angelo. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe. Enjoy some sports. And tell your mom you love her. Peace.